So what exactly is blocking in terms of filmmaking? Well, I'm going to talk about that in this video right here. If you're new here, why not subscribe and hit that bell notification, and that way you'll be updated every time I post new content on this channel. Oh, and welcome. So what exactly is blocking a scene? If you're ever on a TV set, episodic, film, anything, oftentimes you'll see people walk to the set and start mapping things out of what's going to happen. That, in essence, is blocking, but it's so much more than just that. When on set, you'll have the DP, director, script supervisor, gaffer, and the talent, usually your core team, will move in on set and start mapping out what's going to happen, where actors will be, where they'll move, where the camera might end up being, where lights could be, and you walk through the scene. And then once you have that, if you're on a bigger set, you might bring in your stand-ins and mark those locations, and then start to set up the camera and figure out how best to shoot or cover this scene so that it's the best as it possibly could be. You shoot the scene based off of your blocking. So that's sort of the basics of what blocking is, but just so you know, it is so much more than just that. The basic blocking that you might see is two people where they're going to stand so that you can figure out your lighting. Your light might be over here, your key, and then you've got a fill over here, and then you set your camera up to either be over the shoulder or a master, and you get your basic coverage. Some people call it triangle coverage, over the shoulder coverage, and you might have your basic 3-point lighting is usually in interviews, maybe not so much in movies. Everything is just basic. People talking at each other, the camera covering the scene, and then you're done. That may be considered basic blocking, but it is a good recipe to have a stale, boring movie if that's all you think about when it comes to blocking. One thing that you should probably consider is using blocking, just like everything else, to help tell your story. The story is the most important thing, right? So why not use this element or this method of just figuring out how things play out and use it to maximize your storytelling? How can blocking become stale? Blocking has this issue where if you just get into the routine of, oh, we'll put them here and here, and never really think beyond how to get coverage of the scene, you risk having a very stale scene that nobody really is interested in watching. And if it's an action movie, maybe they skip over it just to get to the action parts that maybe are a little more exciting. Not understanding the potential of what blocking can do may result in having something that's very stale and boring. It might be because you haven't stretched yourself to think differently about what blocking could be. One thing you run into with bad blocking is the actors' performances become very canned or stale or over the top or just not in the moment. And a lot of that can be attributed to the fact that where they're positioned or what they're doing in the scene feels so disconnected to what they're saying that you don't get the performances that you want. So with proper blocking for your scene, you have a far greater chance of getting quality performances. So here's a kicker, and maybe considered a special bonus. A major thing that will really help a scene is if there's conflict in it. Conflict-driven scenes are often so much more interesting than anything else. Now, you might not have your entire movie based in conflict, but chances are if it's a good one, it's at least 90% conflict. You should have figured out your conflict issues and all the problems in your script before you go into production. Okay, I know, this is low budget filmmaking, and sometimes you might go into production and then discover, oh, I could have made this scene better. And it's too late because you're about to shoot the scene and the things that you wish could have been better just aren't there. Well, there is a solution that could potentially save a bad script and make it a great one, and that is in your blocking. One thing that I try to do if there's no conflict in a scene and it desperately needs it, I'll give my characters goals with mini goals within the scene. So let's say we have a scene and it's two characters talking about coffee. In itself, talking about coffee may not be the most interesting scene in your movie. But what if you gave your characters small goals? So let's say character A's goal is to leave the room, and character B's goal is to continue the conversation in the room. Now, if you put character A by the door, they really don't have anything keeping them from just opening the door and leaving. Conversation would end. So what if you switched it and gave character A the goal to leave the room and character B the goal to continue the conversation in the room, but character B was by the door and character A had to pass character B to get out of the door. Now, that simple little element of goals that are opposing creates conflict in a scene where there was no conflict. And you start to see the interest level of your scene begin to elevate. And that is one way in which blocking can be so important to telling your story and potentially save a bad script and make it a little bit better. So now that you have an idea of what blocking is, what it can do, and how it potentially can save a script, I would challenge you to begin to experiment. Put your characters in positions that cause them to fight to get what they need. Give your characters interesting goals within the scenes. Start to move your actors around in ways that stretch them beyond the standing and talking at each other. Give them active things to do, active things to pursue in your blocking. And you're guaranteed to get some very interesting results. Now, they may not be the right results, but you have to experiment to know. As a brief overview, blocking can elevate your actors' performances. It can create conflict in scenes that have none and potentially save really bad scripts, as long as you're willing to experiment and try something that's completely outside your box of thinking. Hopefully that was beneficial to you in your filmmaking endeavors, and if you think somebody else could benefit from this, then go ahead and share it with them. Oftentimes, us filmmakers are undervalued in our true potential and power and effect that we have on society. One way you can support this channel is to let your friends know that, hey, don't mess with me. I could potentially put you in a movie. In fact, I will put you in a movie if you don't watch yourself. So be cautious. Shirts available and merchandise and all of that in the Jared Isham merch store. Check it out in the link in the description and on the screen and all those places. Don't forget to subscribe and let me know what your tips are for blocking a scene in the comments below. And I will see you in the next video.